We are here this evening on behalf of Caesurae to talk to Sounak Chattopadhyay, a household name in Indian classical music, Rabindra Sangeet and other forms of traditional music. Sounak is not just a musician, a singer par excellence and a composer. He is also an ideator and one of those responsible citizens among the world of artists who believes that it is his task to contribute back to society. We would begin today's conversation with Sounak with a question with regard to his ideas regarding how he sees tradition and innovation in the world of Indian classical music.
Thank you, Debasish, for giving me this opportunity. It's really nice speaking to you and speaking to the world at large through you, in fact, through this opportunity. The tradition of Indian music has always encompassed the art of innovation in it, basically. What we know as Indian classical music today is kind of a product of maybe a couple of centuries or a little more than that. What used to be 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago has basically been lost, and we do not have any definite written down, no question of any recorded documents, of course. So since there was an absence of notation or notating music in our country, in our tradition, at least in the respect that it was in the Western world generally. So we never had that kind of a tradition, and it has always been an oral tradition. Students or disciples used to learn from their teacher, learning by rote. So Shruti and Sriti, hearing it and then memorizing it, that's basically. Now the question of innovation is very innate to this idea itself, because when one passes on the tradition to one of his disciples, then automatically there is a gap, there is a change between what one learns and what one reproduces when one sings it at a much later stage in one's life. So the question of that gap and that innovation is automatically a part of this learning and this singing or playing process. But whatever innovation there is, it has to be within the ambit of the tradition, ambit of the raga, ambit of the scale. So there is scope of innovation, there is scope of improvisation, but that is exactly what we learn in our tradition. To what extent an artist is permitted to take liberties, to what extent an artist is permitted to break the rules, so as to say, because there are also rules for breaking rules. There are rules for exceptions. So that one has to learn, and if one claims to be a classical musician, a traditional classical musician, then one is definitely bound by the corollaries, by the laws that govern traditional classical music. And traditionally speaking, mind you, it's not orthodoxy, it's tradition. There's a lot of difference between the two, I guess. So traditionally speaking, one is not supposed to transcend or go beyond the ambit or the corollaries of the ragas or the tradition.
So what rules have you devised, Sounak, to break rules, as you have just suggested so eloquently?
But Rabindra Sangeet is another very important part of tradition, which is quite different from the classical music tradition, because Indian classical music is mostly improvised music. We just learn the structure and we kind of learn the road map on which we can traverse when we are performing a raga. But Rabindra Sangeet is pre-composed song, and the structure there is very sacrosanct, and that has to be maintained when one is performing it. So the scope of improvising or innovating in Rabindra Sangeet is comparatively much less, because it's difficult to quantify, but I would guess 90 to 95% of it is already composed. So we can play with the musical ambience, the background of the song, maybe the arrangement of the song, the orchestration of the song. But per se on the song itself, there is not much we can do about. So to answer your question specifically, the rule I devised to break the rule was, if I can't do anything about the song, then why don't I make another song in which I can break the rules? So since Rabindranath's compositions have derived a lot of influence from the ragas, in his own unique way, in the sense that his songs, his compositions, they have nuances of many ragas, but they are not the ragas themselves. Because Rabindranath was composing his own songs, he was giving voice, he was giving a body to the soul of his thought, to the soul of his philosophy. So he didn't care for composing or to conforming to a structure of a traditional raga. Now, by doing that, he definitely deviated from those prescribed corollaries about which we were talking in the previous question. So my idea was, if I take these musical bodies, if I take these raga bodies as the structure of a raga, which doesn't conform to the tradition, it doesn't have to, but which is Rabindranath's ideation, his own vision of a raga, then I basically have a composition which is my composition, which is inspired by Rabindra Sangeet, and then I can do what I want with it. So that was the crux of basically my idea, what I wanted to do. So the Tagore song, which is again a sacrosanct composition, it remains in its place. There is no deviation there. I introduce my own composition, occasionally even maybe a traditional composition which had inspired Tagore to write his own songs. So now these two musical pieces are juxtaposed, sometime one after the other, occasionally one inside the other. So one stanza of Rabindra Sangeet and one stanza of my own composition, and then back and forth. So that kind of an interaction between the two art forms, that I perceive, I think that is interesting, because it is kind of interacting with two brothers with very similar looks, but apparently of two different ethnicities. So that kind of a thing. So, and by God's grace, apparently it seems that the audience has also responded to it well. They get some joy out of listening to it, and it seems different to them. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like a profanation. And I have been personally very careful to make sure that I am not profaning either of the musical forms in any way. I have tried, and hopefully I've been able to keep that.
So Sounak, why don't you connect body and soul, as you have so powerfully put it, with your singing?
This is a song which Rabindranath composed, which is kind of has dance as its central theme. And I composed a bandish, a composition, which also has dance as its central theme in a very different way though. Rabindranath is of course much more philosophical, and mine is more traditional, as is generally written down in traditional bandishes, because the language here is more rustic and undeveloped, non-inflected. So there is lesser opportunity of expressing so much, so deeper philosophies in the bandish language. So here they are.
Mamo chitte niti nritte ke je nache tata thui thui tata thui thui tata thui thui. Mamo chitte niti nritte ke je nache tata thui thui tata thui thui tata thui thui. Tari sange ki mridange sada baje tata thui thui tata thui thui tata thui thui. Tari sange ki mridange sada baje tata thui thui tata thui thui tata thui thui. Mamo chitte niti nritte ke je nache tata thui thui tata thui thui tata thui thui. Mamo chitte niti nritte ke je nache sundara nara nache sundara nara nache naveli alpeli chatur naveli alpeli chatur. Sang baje daf mridang sang baje daf mridang payala ki janakar nache sundara nara nache sundara nara sundara nara. चली बनठन बने दुल्हन, चली बनठन बने दुल्हन, पग पायल हाथ गगन, पग पायल हाथ गगन, रूम झूम चाल चलत, रूम झूम चाल चलत, सब मोह निहार, नाचे सुंदर नार, नाचे सुंदर नार.
Sounak, you have this wonderful organization which is your brainchild called Chintan. This wonderful initiative that you have been a part of, in fact you have been it's your brainchild practically, where you have brought together not only the luminaries from the different worlds of art, but also young musicians, young performers, young artists. Please tell us about Chintan, because you've apparently covered a wide range of issues relating to both man's personal life and man's social life on the planet. So, could you please elaborate on Chintan and how it came about?
Chintan was born out of a necessity of creating my own platform for my own ideas. Because what happens is when we are approached by an organizer, a concert organizer, he or she come with their own ideas about a program. They do not necessarily subscribe to what we think or what we want to project. But as an artist, one keeps on thinking about things, keeps on pondering, keeps on imagining, and I definitely keep on kind of ideating stuff that I want to showcase to the audience, to expand my own repertoire, and it's a kind of an adventure as well, to try out new things, more innovative things. So Chintan was born out of that necessity. And also, when Chintan was born 6 or 7 years ago, I guess I still am young, but I was younger at that point of time. And so out of also the necessity to promote and project young artists, my friends, my contemporaries, who some of whom are maybe well projected, but some of whom maybe are not that much. So we have done 6 concerts so far, and in all of those concerts, we have tried to have some kind of an innovation, some kind of a unique and unusual combination maybe of multiple art forms interacting with each other. We have had Shakespeare interacting with Rabindranath and John Keats interacting with songs of D.L. Rai. Not in person, of course, their works, obviously. And unusual artist combinations who typically we don't get to see in concert stages. And as you rightly pointed out, one of the most significant of Chintan's productions so far has been its last one, which is called Green Earth. That was dedicated to global warming and climate change. We had selected the World Environment Week, which is the first week of June, and this concert was held in 2013. And the content, the theme of the program was climate change and caring for the world and the climate. And the content was entirely provided by Rabindranath Tagore. When I was beginning work on this program, I was kind of apprehensive that this is a subject which is more to do with science and scientific facts. So how much will Tagore be able to provide me in terms of raw material, in terms of poems and writings and songs? But it was a stunningly pleasant experience. It was a beautiful learning experience, in fact, that Rabindranath has so much written material on, he has thought so much on the world and the climate and the environment in general. And he has loved the world in the true sense of the world so much that he really has a huge body of compositions and writings. So it made me easier, it made the whole task of collecting material easier. And this was a very nice experience for me, bringing together science, elements of science, bringing together art, and really having quite a few genuine luminaries, legends and stalwarts of the Indian, rather the Bengali art and culture industry. And it was really nice to work with them. And we do have a short clip of this whole program, of this concert on YouTube, so do feel free to watch it, you would love it.
So, what does the future hold for Sounak Chattopadhyay?
That the future knows better than me, I guess.
But what are your plans?
A fundamental plan is to broaden out, to widen out, rather than to taper down. I had started with hardcore Indian classical music. Then I branched out professionally to Rabindra Sangeet, to songs of other Bengali composers, Otul Prasad Sen, D.L. Roy, Rajinikanth Sen. Now, when I was a hardcore student, disciple of classical music, I had really not imagined that I would ever take these genres professionally or take to singing these professionally. But I am very comfortable in what I am doing right now. I don't believe in confines. I believe in breaking barriers within their legitimacies, of course. But and I would like to add more genres. You know, I'm a great lover of music. Very frankly speaking, to the core of my heart, I'm a great lover of music. And that is, I think, what has brought me into this profession more than any other reason. I love singing, I love listening, not only A, B, C, D, but maybe E, F, G, H also. So my philosophy is, if I love listening to 5 or 10 genres of music, and if I can think that I can do some justice to them when I'm singing those, then I see no reason why I should not sing them. So it's a lifelong process of learning and rendition. I always enjoy being a student. I would love to learn and enroll with maybe new teachers to learn new genres and new subjects, and to continue to learn as long as I can. That is one very broad definition of what the future may hold for me. Another thing maybe is, we have spoken about Chintan. So I do have certain kinds of projects in mind, which are typically not related to Indian classical music, neither are they related typically to Rabindranath, which two are my core subjects. So, but they combine elements of these subjects and other genres also. I have some such plans of presenting different kinds of shows, but I'm a little apprehensive about speaking in great detail about them because they are still in a very nascent stage. So I would hope that they do materialize when they are supposed to, and hopefully that's not too far in the future. So that's basically it, I guess.
Well, here's hoping, Sounak, that the nebula bursts, but bursts with music, you know. And if we would want to wind up today by asking you, by requesting you to give us a song. You've talked about green earth, and we have talked about your concern with regard to the environment and what man has done to man and man has done to nature. Yes, and it's still doing. So, I mean, the earthquakes have been a great reminder to us, a warning to us. And still it seems that man and his civilization is hurtling towards disaster, another disaster, from one to the other. So at this moment, a Tagore song perhaps. You know,
that is a difficult question. A Tagore song on earthquake. Well, I have not been asked.
It's not about an earthquake, but of course about man and nature and how we a premonition of what might happen should we abuse nature.
What is ringing in my ears is a song, Brahma Sangeet, as we say in our language. It is a song of the divine section of Tagore's compositions. The first part of the song is about a danger which is looming large, but generally listeners mistake the song to be only speaking about a danger or something very dark, but that's not the case. The basic theme of the song is, beyond danger there is He who transcends danger, the light that is there beyond darkness. So I'll try to sing one or two lines of the song. প্রচণ্ড গর্জনে আসিল একি দুর্দিন দারুণ ঘন ঘটা অবিরল অশনি তর্জন প্রচণ্ড গর্জনে देवादिदेव शङ्कर त्वं हि
महेश्वर त्रिशूलधर डमरुकर टिमे टिमे बाज बाज नितां तातटकत गदिगनदा 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 देवादिदेव शङ्कर देवादिदेव शङ्कर प्रचण्ड गर्जने आशिल एके दुर्दिन दारुण घन घटा अविरल रशनी तर्जन प्रचण्ड गर्जने देवादिदेव शङ्कर देवादिदेव शङ्कर देवादिदेव शङ्कर.
Wonderful, wonderful singing. It's been a pleasure talking to you this evening. The bard has said it a lot better than me, but I'll quote the bard. The words of Mercury are harsh after the songs of Apollo. Long may you keep singing, long may you keep regaling your audiences, and may your singing that you have just demonstrated for us, that you have just presented us with a bouquet of your wonderful voice. And now a little word for all our viewers and people who have been supporting us, the Caesurae Collective. We announce with great pleasure that we are going to launch our e-journal, our international e-journal, Caesurae, Poetics of Cultural Translation, on the 17th of May at the Calcutta School of Music, Sunny Park. We welcome you to that event, and we promise to continue our work, our dream, with your support. Thank you.